being at home, is that a big thing?
Wigan, when we beat Wigan away, that was a really good one. Obviously, you prefer to at home, but we played Wigan away just before the Champions League final, and to win that game, I think Ronaldo scored a penalty, then Giggsy scored to make it 2-0, and that was probably the best one and best feeling. We had the whole away stand, and that was the best one.
What about 2012, Wayne? Was that a good one? Aguero goal, mate.
I think it's just
your goal at Sunderland, mate. You scored against Sunderland away, and then Aguero.
Yeah, it was a good goal.
I think he remembers it.
Yeah, no, obviously, that was a tough one, that, yeah.
Good afternoon. Welcome to The Blueprint on We Are the South Stand, where I am joined every week, although we skipped last week because more pressing business was going on. I'm pretty certain you were signing off some deals. But we're joined by my good friend, The Sheikh. What are you saying, bro? You good?
Yeah, man. All good, all good.
How's the weather over there?
The weather is hot, humid, kind of disgusting. I saw you tweeting about how it's kind of the same by you, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I woke up this morning. I live down south, in between London and Birmingham. So it's about 2-hour drive from Manchester. Woke up, beautiful weather, 8 a.m. this morning. By, I think, 11 a.m. in where I lived, it was raining. Got on a train up here. The rain followed me. Literally, it's like I was traveling because I spoke to someone up here and they said the weather was lovely in Manchester when I was leaving where I'm from. As I came up on the train, it was like literally the rain cloud must have been following me all the way up here. Yeah, it does rain down south sometimes as well. And I got off the train to rain up here. And now it's absolutely gorgeous outside. But the problem is with that in England, humidity in England. I mean, it's probably the same in America, to be fair. In New York, oh, fuck me. Oh, shit.
Disgusting.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's terrible.
Yeah. You know what? I've always wanted to do New York at Christmas. Home Alone vibes. It tells anyone from England that grew up with Home Alone and Home Alone 2, they want to do New York at Christmas time, right? But I've been told by people, you don't want to do New York at Christmas time. It's very, very, very cold, right? And as a tourist, you kind of like, you have to be wrapped up when you're on the street. But then the minute you go into a building, it's boiling hot and you have to take everything off. So, but then I've also been told that New York in the summer is very, very hot as well. So,
yeah, it's very extreme. The temperatures can be very, very extreme. I think in the winter, it's worth it, to be honest, just because there's so much to do, and the entire city is lit up. It's like it's like kind of like London. Yeah, it's like just come, enjoy it. You know, you can go see Rockefeller Center, go ice skating, see the giant tree. It's a nice little experience. But for me personally, you know, being from here, places like Times Square, like I avoid that. Like it's the fucking.
I bet, yeah. I hear it. It's like me with London. I live about on the train. I live about 35 minutes from London, right?
Yeah.
Love London. Love going down there, but I could not live there. I could not live in central London. Like, and when you sometimes, I mean, Istanbul was worse because getting about in Istanbul was insane. But in London, to get like 3 miles, it can take you like 2 hours in traffic and whatever.
Yeah. It's like a $40 Uber to go, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I told you before, my mate was over there watching. He went over there for his birthday. And then while we were in Mykonos, he was there. And one of my other mates who was due to go over there was also there. And all they kept talking, all my mate that just got back from New York was like, listen, after a couple of days of walking about, you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to get an Uber, right? Then you realise how much the Uber costs, or even more so the yellow taxis cost. And then you're like, fuck me, I'm going to walk.
I know. Just deal with the pain at that point, you know?
Yeah. But listen, a lot has happened since we last spoke. We last spoke 2 weeks ago. When we last spoke, we've been linked with Cherki. So we were over the Verts thing, right?
I think we hadn't even made any signings at that point.
No, I think we were worrying about if we were going to get Cherki. I think. Well, I was worrying with him. But bro, the window is closed now, part one. We've got Cherki, we've got Tajani, we've got Ait Nouri, we've got, what's his name, the goalkeeper? Carson 2.0.
Bettinelli.
Bettinelli, that's it, Bettinelli. And also it looks like we've got Nipan today on a, I don't know, but he's going to be loaned out. Actually, let's start there. Do you think there's a chance that he might be the one being loaned out to Lyon?
I think it's a pretty good chance, to be honest.
Yeah.
I also think it's a good move for him in general. That kind of position that he would be playing, that like attacking midfield, like a sort of 8 kind of hybrid, is like, it's very crowded. And I think it'd be good for him. And I also think it's good business to give Lyon that kind of a prospect on a loan, especially given they kind of worked with us for this transfer to get it in ahead of the Club World Cup.
Do you know what? It's very interesting because obviously the minute it came out that we were loaning someone, I think everyone started panicking, going, not Echeverri, not Echeverri. I do get it, because if you look at where Lyon are, they need to get money in, but they don't want to then have to go and spend any of that money on bringing a replacement in. Now, if you look at Echeverri, it's like, he would be a replacement. And to be fair, they have got European football next year. So if it was Echeverri, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because he's going to go to a French league that is quite physical, so probably will help to get him a bit more physical, bulk him up, and he will be getting European football. But none of us really want that. If it is Nipan, then I think for City, perfect move. They've gone and said to Lyon to get Cherki over the line, we'll loan you a player. And then they've gone and got one that that none of us have even seen, just to go straight out. It's perfect. But there's a bit of me as well that does want it to be Juma Bar.
That would make sense too. But they need, with Cherki coming here, they need somewhat of a like-for-like replacement, is my thinking.
Yeah, that's my thinking as well.
Yeah.
So
it probably makes sense to send them Nipan, and then
they don't want to spend money, so it would make sense. And either way, for us, ultimately, if one of our younger players let's be real, right? Echeverri, even if he stays, right, he's not going to be our first choice 10, right? He's not. He's not going to be our first choice winger. I mean, look, if he absolutely lights up the Club World Cup, maybe, but with Foden, with Cherki, with Marmoush there, with Savio, with Doku, it's going to be difficult. So a loan move to a physical league and also playing European football is a good move for any younger player, a good move for City. So
yeah. I love that Lyon kind of has a reputation of being a hotbed for developing their in-house talent really well. So to kind of build that bridge would be really nice, you know.
It's nice for us to be building a bridge with clubs. I mean, to be fair, we've got a good relationship with Dortmund as well, haven't we? But yeah, actually, while we talk about relationships, bro, I see what you're saying with Napoli.
Oh my God, dude.
Well, it's the handshake for me. The picture of the handshake, it was like, Kev.
I know. I was thinking it, and then as I was thinking it, I logged into Twitter, and that picture was the thing that popped up, and I was like, God damn it, man.
Well, listen, I hope someone gave him some bacteria wash afterwards, right? or maybe Kev's gone over there to do the good work of Manchester City and say, listen, right, City have allowed me to go on a free. If you want Jack Grealish, they're more than willing to work with you on that as well. Listen, let's make amends, and in the future, if you do have any stars, maybe give them a second chance. It's a new director of football, and maybe we start again. But how do you feel? So I've seen a few people talking about the De Bruyne thing, and how do you think he'll do over there, honestly?
I think he'll be great. I think the league is good for him. I think, they're champions of their league, you know. I think that Napoli, and especially the Italian league right now, it's super competitive. You know, it's not like some dusted old people's league that, no. People on Twitter will say. Going to the champions of Italy, it kind of looks like the rest of the league. You know, it's like Juventus isn't really that good. Milan is kind of going through some trouble. Inter, they're losing
could be in
Inzaghi.
huge trouble.
Yeah, and a lot of their
Yeah.
players.
Yeah.
They have the financial trouble. So I
Yeah.
think that Kev made the right choice. 2-3 years at a top club. He's also playing with Lukaku, who's one of his best friends. McTominay is, even though he's a United kid.
What? I completely forgot about the Lukaku thing. Him and Lukaku are best friends, aren't they?
Best friends, yeah.
Best friends, yeah. Do you know what? I completely forgot about that. And even if you think about with, I don't know too much about Napoli, but I do know they've got McTominay there, and I do know they've also got the guy that came up from through Cobham, through Chelsea's academy. What's his name, people? Come on, one of you tell me. Scottish, Billy Gilmore.
He's there too. I totally forgot.
Yeah, Billy. But you think about that. What Kev needs and what he didn't have this season is legs around him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You give Kev some legs around him, and in that league with Lukaku, I kind of right. So this morning I said that what will happen is he'll go there and he'll. What we'll see is an amazing Kev pass or an amazing, and they've got Philip Billing. You're right, yeah, or an amazing Kev goal once a month, and then certain people on Twitter will be saying, "See, we should have given him a contract extension," but it won't show us all the other games. But I maybe downplayed it. When you actually think about that league, the Lukaku link up, the legs around him, he could cook, and then everyone watching this, right? Anyone with Twitter fingers, if he does cook, let's not say, "See, we should have given him a contract extension." Let's celebrate that our legend is still cooking. Yeah.
Because and they have that guy. Who's that other guy? Lobotka. He's really good.
Yeah.
They got a good team.
They're a good team. It will be interesting. Am I right? Are they changing their manager?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't read anything. I can look it up right now, actually.
Who? Have a look.
It's Conte.
Yeah, and I saw no. I think Conte was being linked with.
Okay.
Yeah, Conte was being linked, but he's staying. Yeah. So there we go.
Okay.
He was being linked elsewhere. He didn't go in the end, did he? But no. Let's move on to the players we have got. Firstly, I ask everyone this: Ait Nouri, Reijnders, and Cherki. Firstly, which one is the most important signing for City in your eyes?
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, we haven't had a left back for years, For me, I thought that we really needed a Reijnders type. I liked Guardiola at left back. Obviously, he's not. It's nice to have a left back. But I thought Guardiola was our player of the year playing left back. Yeah. So it wasn't. I thought we needed depth from the left back position, but I didn't think we needed so much overwhelming quality. So the fact that we got both is huge.
Yeah.
I think it has to be between Reijnders and Cherki. And it's close, it's close. I would say Reijnders just because I feel like he's going to play really, really, really well with Rodri. And also I think in our previous episodes I mentioned that, from that 10 position, whether it's Marmoush or Phil or Claudio Echeverri or even Bob, we have some options in that 10. So but the 8, especially with Bernardo potentially on the way out, Gundogan on his last legs, Kovac just got hurt again. It's we didn't really have 8s. Nico can play 8, but it seems like Pep sees him more as a 6-8 hybrid. So we needed a world-class 8, and Reijnders comes in, fits the bill, ready to go, checks off all the boxes.
That's where I am. I think the chat generally is saying Reijnders. I think Tajani is the guy for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Even when we were in for Wirtz, right, I said, however much I want Wirtz, if we don't get Wirtz, I'd be happy to go and get 2 world-class 8s, right? And
we talked about this.
Yeah, and I'm still there that for me, even more so, I saw Luke, MCFC lad, shared something the other day. Someone else had created it. It's this weird diagram, right, of players' qualities over the last few years. And it's spooky how similar he is to Gundogan. It really is spooky. And even in his interview where he said he likes to be involved in the build-up play from deep, but also he does like to hit the box and he likes to get goals. And I just thought, you just sound like Gundogan. And even the maddest thing is, I even think his personality seems very...
little mellow. Yeah. I love it.
I love it. Just professional. And when you look at his come up of, he hasn't been even playing at a high level for long, but the rate that he's got to where he is, Italian midfielder of the year. I think for me, that is the most important. However, my favourite signing, I can't lie, is Cherki.
Yeah. I can't argue with that
in fact, we've seen it in the last week. The fact that he's made his French debut, in which he scored a goal that is rude to score in your international debut, to be honest with you.
It's so nasty.
You know what? I would say if that was me and the ball got played to me like that, and basically I tried to control the ball, it would probably flick up like that by mistake. But with him, you've just got a shit first touch, so it bounced up, right? With him, it wasn't. Like, bro, I'll be honest. When I was younger, I once scored a worldie, right, from outside of the area, top bins, top corner, right, volley. But I was trying to volley it with my foot. I mistimed it and volleyed it with my knee, right? And because your knee is so powerful, the power on that ball, everyone's like, no. I was like, I didn't mean that. But yeah, I'll take that. But with him, to do that, then even in the second game against Germany, not so good, but to nutmeg Wirtz, to do those things in an international. And then I watch his interview, and just the interview, he's got an aura that is just different. Like you can feel the confidence oozing out of him. The fact he said, I'm the perfect match for City. And this is what I took from all three interviews, right? How excited all three of them are to be joining our club.
Yeah. We talked about this too, that we wanted players in this rebuild that it's not even about the physical freshness, because it's not like these guys aren't playing football already. They're not like been resting for the past year. They all play at the respective clubs.
Playing for the last week as well.
Exactly. But the fact that they have that hunger and that desire to, and a lot of things, one specific aspect that I've seen is that they keep referring to our standards.
Yeah.
And it's like they want to meet our standards, and the fact that we have that reputation amongst these players that any club would like to sign, to me is a representation of how well we've built the culture since the takeover or whatnot, and how much the standards have changed. And I also love something that Reijnders said. He specifically said, I know as a midfielder, it's important to score goals as well. And he said 2 years ago, I didn't score that many goals in a season. I was working on it, looking at what I had to do better. I think when players can be vocal about, their shortcomings, their weaknesses, acknowledge it publicly, work on it, apply that, and then have results. It's like, how many times have we heard someone say, oh, they're just not that type of player? Like, to me, that's a fucking cop-out, okay? It's like, dude, you're getting paid a couple $100,000 a week. Like, what's the excuse?
Yeah.
What's the excuse? Yeah. You're just not that type of player. No, get better, And, like, Reijnders having that self-awareness to say that, practice it, and deliver on it is, like, that's a mentality monster right there, in my opinion. Professional, like, let's get to work.
Yeah, with all of them. And do you know what? Right, I'm going to be critical here of the last, and I always go back to summer before last, sorry, when we bought Kovacic, Nunes, and Vardiol, right? And when people were very critical of that summer, I always defend that summer, because I think Vardiol was we've just seen him. Today's just been voted player of the season. For me, he's one of our best players last season as well. And remember, that's 2 seasons being played out of position, and he's still got those. But and he's still young. We still forget how young he is, to be fair. I also think Kovacic was a very, very good signing. But the Nunes one, if we look at the Nunes one, there's no way the Nunes interview would come across anything like Ait Nouri, like Tijani, or like Cherki, right? It was it was more like, and I'm going to put another one in there if I'm being completely honest. Even if we go back to Grealish, when Grealish arrived, Grealish's mentality, he was happy to be here, right? Now, these guys are happy to be here, but they're happy to be here meaning business, right?
Yeah, they want the weight on their shoulders.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. They're not here to, like, it's almost like Grealish joined a party that had already started, right? And he was happy to be at the party. Whereas these guys have joined us knowing, and it's almost like they had an interview with Khaldoon, or maybe Khaldoon made them watch his end of season thing. They knew what it was. They knew we are here as part of a rebuild, and we are here to take this club back to where your owner, your manager, and all of you as fans expect you to be. It just, all of them just oozed this real, I'm here not to fuck about. I'm here, like, the city's nice and all of that, but I'm here to learn and become one of the best in the world. Like, it's
and win, you know, like that's the most important thing. I think when it comes to, you know, the Nunez, Grealish, Phillips, like, these guys are, the one thing that we always hear, the common denominator is they're such good guys. They're such nice people. They say all the right things, but like that sort of like deer in the headlights look of like, oh my God, I made it. And then just the trajectory of like winning the treble. And in the case of Grealish, like how that was the peak and it kind of just went down after that. It's like, you know.
I mean, someone asked the question, because I know, what's happened there? Hold on. I'll plug it in elsewhere. Someone just asked a question about and I know it's a question that everyone in the media is asking about, who is the downfall on Grealish or is the downfall on Pep? I mean, firstly, the downfall, I don't know about downfall. I think that's overplaying it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Overplaying it. What I would say is someone in Grealish's camp, or the Grealish PR has been sensational, because straight away, at the end of the season, there could be questions about Grealish's attitude, and there could be question about Grealish's input this season. Now, personally, the input thing, that was down to Pep, because Pep wasn't playing him. But the media has spun it so well that Jack's stocks have actually gone up, because now no one's saying it's Jack's fault. Apparently, it's all Pep's fault, right? It is all Pep's fault, apparently. For me, look, I would say, if we're going to say downfall, and I don't think a downfall, I think Jack he's been part of the City team. He's contributed. Ask any City fan, and most of us will tell you what he's contributed. But there's certain standards at City, and I guess those standards are not just when you play. Those standards are turning up to training in a certain way. There's standards across the board, and there's standards that if we look at Aguero, if we look at David Silva, if we look at Kevin De Bruyne, if we look at Vincent Kompany, if we look at Fernandinho, if we look at Gundogan, there's standards that they always upheld, right? Like I've seen David Silva turn down an Eccles cake because he's like, no, I'm a footballer. I don't eat cakes like that, right?
Yeah. So
Jack Grealish didn't maintain the standard that ultimately Pep and the rest of the City coaching staff expect. So it is on him, really and truly. It is like,
yeah, it is. And at the end of the day, these aren't children. You know, like you have an academy player, like a 17-year-old that's struggling to acclimate. He's getting pushed around, whatnot. I get that. But the whole thing with Jack is like, I get the fee wasn't his fault. It was a release clause. But regardless, you're a professional. It's a job. You're expected to do a job. In that sense, that treble season, for me, he gets a pass as not a flop because of the treble. Grateful to him. Everything else, it's just, you know, like you didn't really deliver. You're the highest player in the squad, same resources as everyone else. It's like we didn't even really have wingers throughout his tenure here. It's like Savio came last year, Doku came the year before that. Mars was gone. Like he had every opportunity. And now with Kev going, everyone's saying Jack Grealish should be the 10. Jack Grealish should be the 10. It's like, how many opportunities do you want to give this guy? You pay him, you give him the same resources as a Ballon d'Or winner. You have the same best coach in the world. Wingers are leaving. Kevin De Bruyne is leaving. He's had countless opportunities. So, with all due respect,
do you know what? I'll be completely honest with you. I actually think that Jack Grealish, knowing a little bit more behind the scenes, how many chances he's been given, I personally think Jack Grealish has been given more chances after doing things that are not expected as footballers to do at City, right?
Yeah.
I think he's been given more chances than most would be given at Manchester City. Because I do think,
it's the money, it's his wages. They can't dump him off, you know?
I'll be honest with you. I even think after the treble, like the summer after the treble, and not even the summer, it carried on into August, September, right? I almost feel like when we signed Grealish, I did say at the time, look, I'm sure Pep was happy to sign him, but I do think there's a little bit of this being a commercial signing. Now,
That's fair.
when I also do feel like with the English media, and because we do get it, look, I get the way Jack is. If I was Jack, I'd be dead, right? So I get Jack's party side. But I do also feel like the club almost allowed Jack to party a little bit more than they might allow other players to party, because the media never really switched on him. So they were like, do you know what? Jack, go and party. And it's what it is. We love him as a fan base. He was us. That summer, he was us. He was all of us, right? The way he celebrated it, that is how we all felt. But it's time for him to move on. Look, if we get money off of Tottenham, and I did see, I think it was a fake account yesterday, pretended to be Fabrizio Romano and said Tottenham are ready to offer 40 million. If we can get offered anywhere in the region of, sorry, I just need to go and turn my, was that going to be it? Bear with me, people. There we go. That's better. Sorry, I hadn't turned my power supply on. If we get offered any money for Jack Grealish round the 30, 35 million mark,
I think it's like 32 million for amortization.
Yeah. If we get offered that, then I think we take it and go, do you know what? We've got 4 years out of him. The club has certainly made money out of him commercially. And if we get what his book value is back, then we're fucking laughing, to be honest with you. We are laughing. Yeah. Anyone saying Saudi, the chance of Jack Grealish in Saudi, no.
A lot of money.
He won't go, bro.
Yeah, I don't see why he would do that either. I think it's more likely that like we loan him out than he goes to Saudi.
Yeah, well, Everton maybe.
Yeah, I mean he can play. Like he's a very good player. It's just I think the weight of the world on his shoulders and the constant criticism, and then all the off-field stuff. Like I tweeted yesterday, out of context, a lot of people were like, "What did this mean? What does this mean?" But like between Raheem Sterling and Jack Grealish, who had the better City tenure? Then like
I saw that.
Yeah. So my point with this, so I can preface so that you don't think I'm crazy like everyone else.
I don't think you're crazy. I kind of thought 11% of your voters.
Yeah. So the 11% that voted for Grealish, like and I'm confident in saying this, the only reason they feel the audacity to say that is because we won the treble with Grealish and team. If no treble, Grealish would be considered probably just as bad of a signing as Calvin Phillips.
Oh, that's rude.
Maybe I'm being
Come on, we can find better. Listen, Calvin Phillips was worse than Rodwell, and Rodwell was bad.
Okay.
Jack Grealish.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. So with Raheem, like Pep had him producing Messi level, statistics at one point. We won a bunch of trophies. He scored a bunch of game winners. But then he, the miss versus Leon, and then him not signing the autograph, which is a lie.
What was it?
It's a lie. I know a journalist that was there. He didn't sign it on camera, but after he did. He just didn't do it because he had just signed for Chelsea, and it's not that big of a deal. When you look at what he did for us, for me, I don't really care about that, But for others, I get it, the optics. But my point with that poll was that the way that that 11% of people who say that, Grealish was a better signing than Raheem Sterling, it's like the way a lot of them would talk about Sterling is extremely disingenuous and disrespectful, while they simultaneously, the way they talk about Grealish is also disingenuous. It's like people cannot get over their emotions when they're analyzing these players, and like Sterling is statistically might be our best winger of all time.
Bro, look, this is it. So for me on Sterling, right, I understand why game-going fans have a bit. for some really weird reason, Sterling never fully connected with the fan base, right?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And not to sound out of touch, but a lot of times when people talk about Grealish, what they always bring up, and I noticed it's a local thing. They talk about how he's one of the boys. You know, is it that, or is it like a racial thing? Like, what is it?
So here's my thing, right? When we talk about, and I really like these conversations about, because we've had the conversation before where there's local fans and then there's game going fans, there's local fans, there's international fans, and there's tourists. For me, tourists are not fans. They're just literally tourists, right? So on here, if I refer to a tourist, I'm probably not meaning anyone watching this show. I'm meaning people that literally, oh, I've heard there's a football team in this city. Let's go and look at their stadium. And if we can get a ticket to the game, great. I'm not meaning people that actually follow City. But there's a big difference between game-going fans and international fans in that it's a completely different way of supporting the club. It's a different way of watching the game. You probably can analyze the game better than me because you're actually watching more. Sometimes you're having to get up at mad times and watching it. So sometimes you're putting in far more effort than I have to put in, right? But I will also say, and recently I've been saying this, when people say about, oh, English fans always defend English players, it's not just English fans that defend English players, right? My friend, I always use this example. My friend I live with, he's from Grenada. He'll always tell me anything that Grenada or Grenadan people are.
That's so random.
Because that's just the way we are. We always support. But I think with the Jack Grealish and one of the lads thing is that I understand why people that aren't English, haven't been brought up in England, haven't been brought up with parents that maybe drink quite a bit, parents that swear a lot, parents that live a different culture, right? That we get Jack Grealish a little bit more. I've always wished that Rooney never joined United and joined City because I get Rooney, right? I get what it's like to be an Englishman that's got a lot of money and, I don't get that bit. I ain't got a lot of money. Being an Englishman that's grown up a certain way. So we do get that. But I also think we have to understand and separate from that that's all great, but it's for the good of the club. And ultimately, the way Jack's behaved, however much we might love him, it's not for the good of the club, right? This is not for the good of the club. Now, with Raheem Sterling, he didn't connect with the fans as much. However, like you said, and by the way, I get it. GA is not everything, right? No, but GA is also pretty fucking important if you're a winger.
You score goals, you win games. You know.
I saw someone say earlier. I saw someone say earlier, right? If you are a winger at City and you're not getting 10 goals or 10 assists a season, you're not good enough. And I sat and thought about it and thought, right, what is the job of a winger? And I thought back to our best years, right? And our best years was when we had 5 or 6 players getting at least 10 goals a season, right? And then also assists on top of that. And I thought, do you know what? You're right. If you are a winger and you're not getting 10 GA, right, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And when we look at Raheem Sterling, I do think, look, there's things to it. Like Raheem Sterling had the luxury of having David Silva, prime Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero fucking making runs that was pulling people left, right, and centre. Gabriel Jesus, who was making runs, pulling people left, right, and centre. He had Walker overlapping, creating space. He had all these things that we could say this season Savinho and Doku did not have, right? But he still made the most of it. And he had Sane doing the same thing. And sometimes I think there's like, Raheem Sterling sometimes was frustrating as hell when he was through on goal in a one-on-one and he didn't know what to do, so he did fuck all. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. Look at his numbers. Numbers don't lie. His numbers are insane. And without Raheem Sterling, a lot of the shit that we achieved, we would not have achieved.
No. And you know, I feel like the Grealish topic has been beaten into the ground, and you know, like at this point, there's really no point in talking about it, you know, just because he was good for us. He with the treble and all of that. But then, you know, after now that the writing is on the wall, I think it's just time for people to move on and just be honest about it. And it is what it is.
That is, and we can look at it and we can say, he contributed, but in hindsight, how much we've defended him. And do you know what? As fans, we've done our job, because our job is to defend our players and defend. Yeah. But when we look back,
we've been doing it for 4 years.
Yeah, and when we look back at it, like, this is the thing that I've really learned this season with sorry, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Hay fever is absolutely killing me today. So
I'm sorry.
One thing that this year I've really learned is, and Nitin Patel, who's in the chat all the time, I mention him. I mention him because he is really relevant. That a year ago, and probably for about 2 years, I've blocked him on. I had to block him on everything. Me and him did not see eye to eye. He hated me. I didn't like him. But this season made me, and some of the things I still think he says are outrageous, right? But I've had to learn this season that, do you know what? Sometimes I can be a little bit blind and a bit too biased. And sometimes there are people that what they're saying has some truth in it. Some of what he says, I think, Nitin, come on.
Yeah, dude, of course. All these people love the club just as much as we do. It's just their expression and the intensity, and it's different. You know, it's like you and I and a lot of people can have normal conversations about it, where Nitin, who also isn't the biggest fan of mine, clashes with a lot of City fans. He's very intense, you know, very intense. He can't just be like, oh, this player hasn't been in a good run of form. He's like, this fucking player is shit. We need to send him to Saudi. We need to fucking,
he's very dramatic. But you know what? So am I at times. And actually, like, I'll give him a shout out. The other day when I had a little bit of a meltdown on Twitter, he actually messaged me and said, this isn't like you. You're right. And I thought, how have we got to here to where we were?
Look at that.
To where we were to where we are now. But it is. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, sometimes you have to sit and think there. And I thought when someone said that to me the other day, right, about, or I saw it earlier on, about if you're a winger and you're not getting 10 GA, what are you doing? And I thought, we've done the defense of Grealish and his GA, right? But at the same time, if I go and look at clips of Grealish when he played at Villa and some of the goals he scored, I thought, I can't really defend that, because your finishing at City has not been, like, forget the fact that the system is different and because of Pep, you played a different system. Ultimately, when you've had chances to score, and he scored some important goals, a goal against Arsenal, and he's done some great stuff. But sometimes when you look at how bad his finishing has been at City, and then you look at his finishing at Villa, you do think, what happened there? Like, he used to be able to bend the ball. He can't bend the ball.
He can still hit it. It's just, I think it's a mental thing. But the facts are the facts. You know, as much as we talk about Sterling and the stats don't lie, one stat about Jax that always blows my mind is that he didn't score for the club in an entire year. You know, like that's insane. That's just, for me, that's unacceptable. And you know, our standards, and we talk about standards and all of that. People say Savinho this, they talk about Nunez that, they talk about Doku this. Doku is outperforming Jack's best numbers. Nunez outperformed him this season while playing at right back, left wing, barely playing. Like, so at this point, it's just like, I don't even want to talk about him anymore. I honestly muted him from my feed. I just, like, you know, like, we get it. We love you, Jack. Thank you so much.
But you muted him. Wow.
It's just, it's not because it's just the back and forth. It's like the constant, you know, back and forth between, he's not good enough. It's the same conversation over and over again. And at this point, you know, like, he won us a treble. And for me, that's what I want to remember him for. Nothing else. I don't care about the goals. Thank you for the treble. Thank you for being a good guy and obviously loving our club and being a good representative to the fans, which is why so many people love him as a person. But other than that, it's time to move on. We got plenty of new players. You said you wanted to ask me about this, this tweet that I've been.
You know what? Right, and this is me being thick, right? Because and you being. I know there's some sarcasm in it, right? But so every time that City sign a player, you are tweeting. Bear with me. Where is it? Where's it gone? There it is. You are tweeting, interesting how no one even questions the this very recent, very significant change in strategy, despite the old strategy resulting in them dominating the Premier League for nearly a decade? Explain it to me.
So you know this magic hat guy?
No.
You don't know? Okay, so that's why you don't know. I just DM'd it to you in the private chat. Okay.
No.
So there's this account called the Magic Hat, and I think that
I've heard of it.
yeah, he's an Arsenal fan. His bio says
I've seen him before.
providing commentary on football, financial matters. I block trolls, plastics, and bots. Okay, so on June 2nd, City signed a striker named Mahamadou Sangare. I've never even heard of him. 18-year-old from PSG. As any City fan would know, this is probably one of those sign young, promising guy, end up flipping him for profit. You know, it's like we've been doing this forever. Like this is not new. And then this guy, this magic hat guy, like so many of these, you know, tinfoil hat wearing people out there, anonymous accounts out there, he comes out and he says this, you know, and the thing that annoys me is that no matter what City does, you know, people like him, people like Mark Goldbridge, Rory, the Arsenal, Rory,
most Liverpool journos.
Yeah, they'll find a way to twist anything City does into some sort of validation that, you know, City is guilty or the 115 charge, or whatever they want to say, you know. So I just thought this was ridiculous. And I think it's even more ridiculous when you look at the fact that we signed Reijnders, we signed Cherki. You know, it's not like our strategy has changed much at all. It's just we're much more aggressive this summer because we need to rebuild. And we all know that. We all know that as City fans, that we sign these younger players and we flip them for profit. And it's a big way that we make profit. You know, it's a huge part of our strategy. We derived it from La Masia, and that's how La Masia operates, you know? So we know this, but he clearly doesn't. And he's out here saying that, you know, it's a clear, significant change in our strategy. So me being, you know, the kind of asshole that I am, every time we sign a player, I've been saying this just to prove a point at how ridiculous these constant ongoing narratives are and are being twisted into like City is guilty, City is guilty. With all due respect, I'm an American, and this magic hat guy, his biggest smoking gun is the emails. It's like, what about the emails? What about the emails? Prove what? You can't answer that. I've been listening to Republicans talk about Hillary Clinton's emails for years, and nothing came out of it. So I'm fucking sick and tired of people complaining about these fucking emails. It's not proof. It's just you being something that I don't really want to say.
Because it can be, ultimately, they can be fake, right? All of that. Do you know what? It's so funny. I try and not have these conversations because they just frustrate the shit out of me. Even down to when right now. So, for example, the other day I got in my group chat from one of my mates that is an Arsenal fan, and most of my group chat is full of Arsenal fans. But he doesn't do content. He's not living football day in, day out, right? And he'd just seen this tweet from a Liverpool journalist saying Manchester City has spent 450 million in the last 6 months. And he said, how can we compete with that? And I said, bro, firstly, look at that damn list. It's got Livramento on it. As far as I'm aware, we have not bought Livramento. Secondly, Reijnders did not cost 65 million. Thirdly, started breaking it all down. I said, bro, I'm not saying we haven't spent a lot of money in the last 6 months, but we've spent, I think, 285 million, not 450, firstly. I said, but secondly, he goes, well, how are you able to do this? I said, bro, go and look at how much City have spent compared to other clubs over the last 2-3 years. He goes, okay. I go, and secondly, think of everything we have won, right? Think of how much income we have brought in, not only through what we've won, but think about all of these young players that we have sold as pure profit, right? And we sell, we're not like Arsenal, we sell well, right? So all of this money, that is how we managed to do it. But he said, well, how are we able to compete? And I saw someone yesterday tweet, how are we able to compete after City signed Reijnders, Cherki, and Ait Nouri? And an Arsenal fan said, how can we compete with this? I said, that cost 115 million. You nearly spent that on one fucking player, right? So don't tell me how can you compete. You're trying to compete. You're just failing to compete. It's not you compete. You're spending money. You're just not competing because you're not.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Also, the funny thing is, like, they're like, how can we compete, right? And in my opinion, winning is one thing, competing is another thing.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're finishing second 2-3 years in a row, you are competing. You are just not winning. So don't fucking cry about I'm not competing. You not winning is the problem. But in the case of Arsenal, like, I don't need to go into that. It's just the fact that it's just always like, we are the victims, poor us, blah blah. Like, dude,
hold on.
What the fuck is this?
I've got the best video for you for when Arsenal get brought up.
Apart from anything in this league, look, Arsenal have done all right, haven't they? They've done all right, but they will say we lost it at Villa.
Fuck them cunts. I don't even want to talk about them.
Exactly. You know, like, oh my God, it drives me crazy. It's like, I'm not a professional athlete, but I've played sports my entire life. And it's like, where's the fire? Like, all you guys do is bitch about they did this, they did that. Like, you're spending money too. You're coming in second. You're competing. You're just not winning. And then in this season, like, our worst season in over a decade. And like, our Ballon d'Or is out injured. Kevin De Bruyne is on one hamstring. It's like Pep is going through all this personal shit, and you barely were ahead of us.
You didn't take advantage of it. You didn't
fucking
take advantage
barely.
of it.
And it's like, what? Whose fault is that? Ours?
And instead of these we can't compete things, is don't blame us, blame your board, right? Because your board told you, you moved from your old stadium to your new stadium. Your board told you that was so you can compete at the highest possible level, right? They told you that. If they are not doing that, don't blame us. Go and blame your board, because we're doing fine over here. Now, you just mentioned that, and I want to move on to that. Let's talk a little bit of football. You just mentioned Rodri and the injury. People, there is 270 people watching on YouTube. Substantially more watching across all platforms. If you could please make sure you're smashing the like button, that would help a lot. Right, so another narrative I've seen, and a few people have mentioned it, ESPN the other night, I think 3 Liverpool pundits on there talking absolute crap. They know nothing about Manchester City, and one of them saying, where is Reijnders even going to fit into this Manchester City team? And I just think,
idiots, man.
Well, literally, Gundogan has been clutch for us for the last 4 years, right? And we've just got a replacement. So that's where he fucking fits in. But let's talk about this. And I think I put in the title, I put Rodri, Reijnders, perfect.
Hell yeah.
Haaland, Cherki, problems. Perfect problems. And I just
think problems.
Bro, and I made a bet. Let me tell you this bet I made with a Liverpool fan yesterday on my other channel. So I took Haaland out of it, out of cockiness, just because I felt like being cocky. But I said, I tell you what, Wirtz and Salah, combined GA, Marmoush and Cherki get more.
Oh, that's bold. I like that. I like that a lot.
I don't know if it's right, but
fuck it. Let's ball. I love it.
We've got our chest back. We've got our chest back. But
I love it.
How do you see City, like your ideal City next season? How do you see it lining up, and what does it bring?
Okay, so we'll start with Reijnders. Yeah, we needed a number 8, a starting number 8. Yeah. So imagining Rodri, obviously a starting number 6. Reijnders as a number 8. I would assume that Kovacic goes into the rotation option, and then we were also linked with like Jashari and Sara, so you can kind of see that they were looking for like a left foot 8, something like that. People who can maybe carry the ball forward a little bit. So Kovacic being that guy, and then Naipan, who fits that mold very well as well, in a year or two can be that. But if we're talking about next season, immediately, that's tough. I think the locks are obviously Haaland, Rodri, Gvardiol, and then maybe Diaz.
I think Diaz Gvardiol next season. I do.
I would say so. I would put those two center back, Ait Nouri, left back. I guess Ederson if he stays. I'm a little torn on this kind of like attacking midfield winger setup. I think that I love Doku and Savinho. We've gone through this a bunch of times, you know. If we don't sign anyone for wingers, I would like to see Savinho start on the left.
That's what I'm hoping for the Club World Cup. I want to see.
Yeah, I would like to see Savinho start on the left. I think Doku as a super sub is probably the best super sub in the world. Depending on, I don't think Cherki should play on the wings at all. I think he should play in midfield. And unfortunately, this means that Phil is probably going to be pushed out onto the right. But if you look through my tweets from the past, I've always said that I think his best position is as a right winger, cutting inside as like a false winger.
Yeah.
So I think for me, Savinho on the left, Phil on the right, Cherki in the middle, Reijnders, Rodri, Ait Nouri, Vardio, Diaz, whatever our right back situation is, if it's Livramento, and then Ederson, I guess. That would be probably my most. And then in the case that we want to push Savinho to the right, I will put Marmoush in there.
Yeah. Okay. So you're still using, because Savinho is an interesting one for me, because I do want to see Savinho on the left. I feel he has to be given a chance on the left. If we go back to Girona, even if we talk when he has played for us on the left, I feel we need to be given that chance.
He's just so much more comfortable there. I know the idea is to have him cutting inside and cutting in those in-swinging crosses from the right. He's just not, his instinct is just not really there. I just think that maybe the left side is a little crowded because of Marmoush, because of Doku.
The weirdest thing is, right, is the Savinho cutting in, right, and crossing from the right doesn't really, for me, make sense to what instructions Haaland seems to be following.
Yeah, Haaland is another case. He doesn't make those near post runs, like the ones that like Aguero used to do.
That's the far post. So
yeah,
it don't make sense to me. The way Savio plays and the way Haaland play don't add up. But when Savio's played on the left and the type of crosses he puts in from the left does add up. Right, and we've seen West Ham is the perfect example. The goal against West Ham, right, where he put it far post high and Haaland just opened it, headed it in. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm with you. I want to see Savio on the left. Sorry, when you say your midfield, your ideal midfield is Rodri,
Rodri, Reijnders, and then it really depends. But at this point, it's like I think we gotta give Cherki the reins as
that's where I
the 10.
Yeah.
And I think that we've talked about this before. All this talk about how he doesn't press, that he doesn't have a big engine. It's like I think having Rodri and Reijnders behind him circumvents that pretty well. So I'm not too concerned about that.
The way I picture it a little bit is slightly different, but the same, right? That I maybe it's just the way. I would say Rodri 6 and 2 8s, right? And the 2 8s are Tijani and Cherki, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Haaland with maybe Marmoush and maybe Foden, or maybe Marmoush and Bob, or maybe Marmoush and Savinho, but something similar. But I like that midfield. I like a midfield of Rodri, Tijani, and the other one is maybe that we put in Rodri, Tijani, and Nico Gonzalez, and then play Cherki just behind Haaland, maybe with Marmoush or something. But because I am interested to see Gonzalez and what we do with him next season.
Yeah, I think he becomes kind of our utility guy, not necessarily like a Bernardo, but like he can play in the 10, he can play in the 8, he can play in the 6. It's a luxury to have for sure, and I think longer term, he's going to be that Rodri replacement if everything goes well, his development goes to plan. But right now, to have that guy, first midfielder off the bench type, is really nice. Not necessarily the first attacking midfielder, but the first like overall midfielder. He's perfect for that role. So I'm really excited about that. I also think that this guy Naipan that we signed can also become that kind of backup 8 hybrid type of midfielder. He's really good at carrying the ball. He finds good spaces to shoot as well. Not necessarily a 6, more so an 8. I've seen some comparisons to Iniesta, which I think is crazy, but you can kind of see the potential he has in that sense.
Yeah. No, so someone said Gonzalez won't be playing the 10. He definitely won't be playing the 10. But I do feel like there'll be some games maybe where Pep wants to be a little bit more cautious. And I think a midfield of Tijani, Rodri and Gonzalez would
It's a
be
muscle.
Yeah.
So that's a big midfield. All of them are like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". It's big guys, you know.
That could be quite important because we've all said how bad we have been at defending and attacking corners, right? We put those three in it, and all of a sudden we've got a lot of height again. We literally just changed, and we've got ball carriers. We've got 3 ball carriers. We've also got 3 players that actually can all crash the box as well there as well. All 3 of them can get goals. We've seen it with Gonzalez now with that goal on the last against Bournemouth. That he has got a goal in him.
The physical presence of this team now, not even just size-wise, but like pace and power, it's like a night and day difference from this year, you know? And that's super exciting because I think we've seen the trend of the Premier League. The Premier League has always been a physical league, but this season and kind of going into the near future, it seems like the trend is these uber athletic, strong midfields. Like I think of like Newcastle, like Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. You know, it's like, or like Chelsea has
Antonelli.
Antonelli, and these guys like Joe Willock are big athletic guys too. It's like, so you look at Arsenal, it's like their midfield is stacked as well. Yeah. You know, it's big guys. So I think we are
time as well. You know, when we back Mancini days and.
Big guys.
We had a lot of physicality back then, and we have lost it over the years. We've lost it. Just to answer this, because I've seen you ask it a few times. Daps, 2 quick questions: Doku or Savinho, and Nusa City, who is better, and should we get him? Right. So Doku, Savinho, 2 very different types of players. One is 2-3 years younger, has only had a season at City, and I would also say has been played a bit out of position because we know he's better on the left. I want to keep both of them, if I'm being honest. Now, I do think there's a chance that Doku might go, from what I've been told, that we are open to offers on Doku. We're not open to offers on Savinho. I want to keep both of them. I think Savinho deserves to be given, both of them deserve to be given more of a chance. Savinho, even more so. As for Nusa, I'm going to be completely honest with you. And Majdi, I don't know you, so I don't know what football you watch, right? I don't know what football anyone watches, but I can tell you now, I don't watch much of Nusa. I've seen him play for Norway recently. I've watched a couple of Norway games. He's looked very good, but I'm not gonna want a new shiny toy because I've watched him a couple of times. You know, if we go back and look at Savinho for Girona. Right, unbelievable, right? I think he was in the nomination for Ballon d'Or Young Player of the Year. That's how good he was, right? So I think we need to calm down, and this Nusa should come in. I don't think he's done enough yet to warrant that he's better than Doku or he's better than Savinho. But if you have watched more of him, then tell me more. But at the moment, if I was replacing Doku or Savinho, it has to be someone that I know is a better winger than them. So, as an example, if we can get Rodrigo, listen, it's an upgrade, so I'd have him. I'm not going to go, you know what, after 1 year of Savinho, let's get rid of him and go and get Nusa.
I don't even think we need Nusa. We have Marmoush. You know, it's like Marmoush needs to play. He needs to play. We have all these midfielders. For me, it's like if we're talking about bringing a winger in, everyone's talking about Rodrigo. Rodrigo plays left wing. That's his best position. That's exactly where Marmoush needs to be if Haaland is playing. You know, and I'm not dropping Marmoush if it's up to me. You know, like I know initially I said like, I'll put Savinho there, blah, blah, but that's just me personally. I think in general, it's like Marmoush needs to play, man. That guy's fucking incredible.
Look, first season not even first season, first 4 months in the Premier League, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, if our board did not go and get Marmoush in January, we're probably not in the Champions League right now.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. I agree.
And that's not only does he need to get more goals away from home? Maybe. At home, he seems to be banging them in a lot more. But even that goal against Aston Villa, that's what we've been crying out for this season. A game changer.
That's crazy. Yeah.
For me, that in his first... I mean, let's be completely 100. Let's remove City from this equation for a second. Let's go back to Bundesliga. Marmoush left the Bundesliga in January. He got more GA than Wirtz did, right? The guy's a baller, and he's already had a few months. I think next season, have Egypt played in the international break, by the way? Do you know?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
Not
so.
that I know. No.
I think Marmoush will probably start in the Club World Cup quite a bit. So I'm excited. Marmoush, for me, excites me. I think
he fills so many holes, man. No pun intended. That sounds a little weird, but anyway, if you think about his forward pressing, the departure of Alvarez, Grealish potentially leaving, opening on the wing. He can also kind of play as a pseudo 10, not a playmaking 10. So this Marmoush's versatility, his ball striking, his intelligence, it's like he can play all those roles. And for me personally, rather than bringing in a Rodrigo or a Nusa, I would give Marmoush those minutes. I would give Bob those minutes. I would give, Savio and Doku those minutes. I would give Phil those minutes, and hopefully Phil can come back even 75% of who he was 2 seasons ago. And in that case, we'll be fucking cooking.
Yeah.
I don't need Phil to be player of the season. I just need him to be 75% of that, and we'll be good. And what we said about Doku and Savinho, it's like we can talk about. I pulled up the stat 1 second. So GA leaders in all comps. Number 1, Erling Haaland, 35. Number 2, Jeremy Doku, 15. Number 3, tied, Phil Foden, 15. Further down the list, 6, Savinho, 12. So let's say Jeremy Doku and Savinho at 15 and 12 this season is their bottom. Is their absolute bottom. If they improve by 10%, and like you said, they get 20 GA, we're cooking. If Doku, Phil Foden, and Savinho, who are 15, 15, and 12, each get 20 or close to 20, that's amazing production from our wingers, plus Marmoush.
Well, you know that Cherki's going to come in and get that as well. So this
exactly. So between them and then Marmoush, who's in the top 10 after being here for half a season, like we're in great shape.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is with these fullbacks, we've got one on the left. If we get another fullback on the right, do you know what? Right, what we've done this summer so far, and potentially we're going to do more, is by bringing in these players, the space for all of our other players there's going to be so much more space, because this season, it literally got to a point where it was like, right, guys, we're playing Manchester City, low block and mark Haaland out the game and we're good to go, right? Because we didn't have runners, we didn't have the pass masters that we used to. We didn't have Foden in form that could fucking bang a goal from outside the area. So everything went down. All of a sudden, we have box crashers, we have runners. All of a sudden, the space, we no longer have to teams will not just have to mark Haaland out of the game. They're going to have to be aware of Cherki now. They're going to have to aware of Ait Nouri overlapping. All these little things will create little moments and more space, and everything will just go up naturally. Someone said about Savinho, he doesn't score, so he's not good enough. I personally think, from what I've seen of Savio, I don't expect him to ever be a massive goal scorer. I think Savio off the left can get a lot of assists, right?
I'm just going to say Savinho's stats at this point, at his age, especially at Girona, in comparison to Vinicius and Rodrigo, he's better than them. So if you're going to say that he's this or he's that, he's been here for 1 year, and his 1 season in La Liga, he outperformed both Rodrigo and Vinicius at that same age. So give the kid some time. Stop complaining. Like, he's 20, 21 years old. Like, what were we doing at 20, 21 years old?
I think the other thing is that if we're right, here's a perfect example that we always forget. Go and look at Raheem Sterling's numbers first season, right? Raheem Sterling under Pellegrini in a kind of dysfunctioning City team. Sterling was getting pelters left, right, and centre from everyone. He wasn't good, right? Yeah. The minute Pep came in and got the system cooking, Sterling thrived. We have to remember not only Savinho's age, but you also do have to remember, and the same with Doku, to be fair, that both of those as wingers were in a dysfunctioning City team, right? All of a sudden, you give them runners, you give them pass masters, their numbers will go up. I think both of them will. So, but anyway, right, we're going to wrap it up here because I have to head out, and I think you probably have to head back to work. You got anything coming up you need to shout out?
Oh, not much, man. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the Club World Cup. I'm going to try to make it out to Philly for the first game. I think it's against Wydad. I've never heard of them before, but, should be fun. And, there's still a second half of the window coming up, and I think we're going to see some heartbreaking moves, maybe.
Yeah.
So plenty more to talk about. As always, my friend, it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Really appreciate catching up with you. Hope you have a good week, and hopefully this time next week, who knows, you might have a little man at home with you. Fingers crossed.
Put on his City onesie, I'll lift him like fucking Mufasa and Simba,
or you'll lift him like the Champions League.
Oh my God. Please, that'd be awesome.
Right, people. We will be back tomorrow morning, round about 10:30. Myself and LB, who's getting very excited about the Club World Cup because he's getting to see our third choice keeper. Until then, everyone have a good evening. Enjoy the weather, and we are out. Peace.